everybody, and welcome back to the How I Got Greenlit podcast and YouTube show. A show about the movies, young, old, corny, hip, lowbrow, highbrow. As always, I am one of your two hosts, Sam Levine, and I'm joined by writer, director, and the creator of the hit TV series Project Greenlight, Alex Keledjian. So, Alex, you made me watch Bugonia.
It all starts with something magnificent. A flower, then a honeybee. The workers gather pollen for the queen.
Good morning, Corey. Good morning, Michelle.
But the bees, they're dying. And that's the way they planned it. To make us the same as the bees.
Let's go again.
But it is not in control anymore. We are.
Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. They're my transparent.
How can you tell she's an alien?
Well, the signs are obvious. It all starts with something magnificent.
I did.
Which
I was stuck it in.
I was not looking forward to it.
Ooh,
because
so you're not a Yorgos man?
I was until the last two movies. I hated Kinds of Kindness, and I hated the one right before that with Emma Stone.
Well, see, I didn't. So that's why I was excited, because I saw the marketing of those two films. They felt, how do I say this, slightly up their own ass. Is that a phraseology we're allowed to use?
100%.
Just from the trailer. So I was like, I'm going to not see these. But Bugonia was a combination of convenience and curiosity. My daughter highly recommended it, although she likes all the Yorgos stuff. And I saw that it was on, of all things, Peacock. So as much as maybe we dress down the streaming revolution, it is something that got me to watch it. I don't know that I'd motivate to the theaters to see it.
And Peacock is definitely like bottom of the barrel streaming sites. I mean, when it comes to where I will never turn on Peacock to peruse it.
What's going on Peacock?
Yeah, I will never turn it on to peruse it unless I know the movie I need to see is on it. And by the way, Peacock is apparently the laughing stock of like the streaming industry. Like, just
in terms of numbers, or what? Why?
In terms of everything. They just like whatever I listen to that other podcast I shouldn't plug, but The Town, and apparently it's just the laughing stock. They apparently as much heat as HBO Max and then Max now back to HBO took.
Right.
Peacock seems to have no brand whatsoever other than its NBC. But before we get into like uninteresting.
Well, right. They have basically it was like the library dump of NBC Universal. They're like, well, we got stuff. Why don't we just throw it up there? Yeah.
So you suggested Bugonia because in the last episode about Marty Supreme, we were talking about how cool it is when non-actors act. And you were like, well, I watched this movie Bugonia that had an autistic person in it, a non-actor. Beyond that, before I get into my thoughts, Alex, give me your general take on Bugonia.
I liked it. It was a slow burn. I wasn't sure at first. It's one of those films where it kind of unfolds at its own pace, and that's a very fine line. You have to have a real confidence as a filmmaker to not feel obligated to have, every 10 minutes have something exciting happen, or a chase or a fight or a whatever. And it's just a slow unraveling of this main character. And you realize that the reason it is such a creepy vibe is that we're almost in the subjective point of view of the Jesse Plemons character, who I guess I would call the main character. It's an interesting three-hander, really, but it's a very simple story that allows the filmmaker to have a debate about current cultural issues, in this case about class issues, among other things, in the sense that you have a victim of a corporation who kind of has reached his boiling point, and he's going to, take his revenge, a la like a Falling Down or something, somebody who seemed like a normal average Joe, and then something happens to him and he decides that he's going to take matters into his own hands. In this case, kidnap the CEO of the big pharmaceutical company that he actually works for, but also contributed to his mother's being put in a coma. So all this is very almost like ripped from the headlines, but what this filmmaker does is that's the fun of this, of getting with a filmmaker that has a point of view. I don't always agree with Yorgos, but in the same way I don't always agree with David Lynch. I think he goes right, so he goes too far, but we know, like, we're getting a David Lynch. Within like 30 seconds I can tell I'm watching a Yorgos movie. He likes the big wide lenses, he likes the sort of slow takes, he likes the weird kind of Toys in the Attic kind of music soundtracks. And I like the ending, I like a humdinger ending.
Let's talk about that for a second. All right. Spoiler alerts, everybody. Listen to me. Everyone's spoiler alerts. I have predicted the ending of 2 movies in my life in the first 10 minutes. One was The Village. I was sitting next to my friend Marissa, and I literally said in the first 5 minutes, spoiler alert for The Village, although I don't care if I spoil The Village for you.
Yeah,
I kneeled her, I kneed her in the side. I said, I bet the outside is the modern world. Okay. And I predicted,
lo and behold,
I predicted this movie's ending in the first 10 minutes. But here's the funny thing. Yes.
He's not crazy.
Yes. But he is crazy, but I still predicted, ready? Spoiler alert, that she was actually an alien. Because I said to myself, the only way this movie works is if she actually is an alien. And if she's not an alien, then this movie is going to become quite tedious by the end. And it was the one time I predicted an ending where I was happy that my prediction was correct. I think for the very same reasons I hated Eddington, which is I don't need a movie reminding me of what modern media is telling me all the time. I like that this movie took a left twist.
It's his examination of the moment, right?
Right.
One battle is that.
Right.
This is that. What's Eddington is that.
Right.
It's the arty filmmakers that actually can talk about politics a little bit. This is how they're making
the ending makes it more creative. The ending makes it more creative,
well, entertaining,
and more timeless. The ending makes it more timeless. If she's just this corporate person, it becomes less timeless because who knows how it's going to feel 30 years down the line. But by making her an alien, just like you said, it's about class, it becomes a much larger thing, really about the species itself. So I really appreciated the surprise ending. So basically, my sum up is this is the first movie he has made that I have liked since that one he made. It's not called The Queen. What is it about that?
The Favorite.
The Favorite.
I love The Favorite.
I like The Favorite too.
I like The Favorite a lot because I like that time frame. It was a French, like pre-revolutionary French kind of film, and I love when they get access to the real buildings and they do the costumes and stuff. I'm a huge Dangerous Liaisons sucker, right? And so, but The Lobster, not so much. The Lobster felt like a Sundance movie of that era, very much so. But The Favorite is great. Also, I think that was the beginning of the Emma-sance for Yorgos.
I think it's gone too far.
Yeah, it's gone. And we can talk about that in a second. But it's funny because my girlfriend kind of nudged me and she was like, "Would you make a movie with her?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think she's amazing." But I think she's in danger of becoming. The two of them are in danger of becoming a kind of parody of themselves, right? Which is, I'm glad that you guys have found your gear, but it's best if you both go and make 2 more movies, then come back. 2 more movies, then come back.
Completely agree.
There's an exhaustion, and I'll be honest, if they had made that their last movie together with also now Jesse's in the road company with them. who is also great, and I also love him, and I'd also love to work with him. But there's that. Do you know the Mercury Theater? Are you familiar with what that is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Mercury Theater was sort of the players that Orson Welles worked with in the radio, and then
prior
theater.
to RKO.
Yeah. And so he made plays with them. He made radio shows with them. And so obviously they had a thing, but like, I have no interest in Kinds of Kindness. It's just, some of it is a little up its own, as we've said.
It's the worst one.
Poor Things is great though, because it's almost like a not Richard Scarry. Who did Where the Wild Things Are? It's like Where the Wild Things Are, right? With like sex and mayhem and Mark Ruffalo. But
I can only take so many 15-inch wide angle shots in succession.
Know, that's the
so like
problem.
Even though we have been talking about how in movies
you're talking about 15 millimeter.
15 millimeter. I know I said inch. I'd be insane. 15 millimeter lenses.
Well, that's the Kubrick of it all, right?
He's slowly tightening in, which I appreciate. He's still not going tighten up. Yeah. So this movie, like we were talking about how like there's this over reliance on telephoto lenses in film.
In Marty. So we had watched these two films back to back, and that was my complaint. It's funny, my son's becoming the art snob that I wished he hadn't, but here we go. He's like, too many close-ups. I'm like, that's what I said. But it is, and it's a problem. And he said it made it feel small, and all I could think was, if I hadn't known the budget of Marty, I would say, hey man, that's what you got to do when you only have 10 extras and you only have a storefront from, the 50s and not a street to play with, a la like, Coppola on Godfather 2 or something. You can't really like feel the space. You have to limit your frame. You have to go really tight. You have to get in and out fast. But the fact that they had $75 million and they still wanted to make a bunch of close-ups, that's just an aesthetic choice, I guess. But maybe it was just the juxtaposition of the two. I'm sure if I just had watched Bugonia fresh, I'd be like, all right, Kubrick, we get it. You like the mise-en-scène with the wide angles. But look, I think it's these guys have their palette, right? Even when we watch Frankenstein, there's the Guillermo del Toro palette. So it's like, you can't hate on them too much. They love what they love. They definitely lenses that, frickin' Fincher always goes to certain lenses, and it's okay. But it's better that than the other, which 100%. Is, I don't know who this was directed by. I mean, look, there's all those debates, Howard Hawks comes up a lot in these conversations, he was the stylist director, right? And so I'll watch those films because I was told to by the directors that I love. And I'll kind of go, I mean, yeah, it's cool you had Cary Grant. I mean, it's cool you had this and that, but I'm more like a Michael Curtiz guy, like Curtiz had a style, like he did those push-ins in Casablanca or any number of his films, and you realize, that's the famous Spielberg push-in. It's not the famous Spielberg push-in. It's the Curtiz push-in. But look, you can't on the one hand ding them for their style and then demand that like films have a point of view.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How dare he not go 5 millimeters closer for me to make it slightly less anamorphic?
Yeah, exactly. Or whatever. Right. Just 100%. Like, I'm not going to buff his edges, and I'm glad no one else has. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Let's talk about the cast a little bit. Let's start with Jesse Plemons before we go down the list. The reason I want to talk about Jesse Plemons is he's a fascinating actor to me. I first saw him in Friday Night Lights, and I never thought of all those kids in Friday Night Lights.
He's the one.
He's the one. But not only that, for years and years, I have thought of him as not a very talented actor because he never seems to go big, right? I've always said that going big is the hallmark of a good actor because they're making choices. Yet he was somehow beloved by great directors, right? He was popping up everywhere in great films, even though I wasn't that impressed by him.
And Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and even then, I wasn't that impressed by him. I wasn't that impressed. But I mean, he was in The Master. He was just showing up everywhere with great directors. I'm like, why do they love this guy so much? This was the time for me. I thought this was by far his best performance. I enjoyed it a lot.
There's definitely more passion in it. He is still, but he's like so on the ragged edge, and I don't think I've seen him this gaunt.
No.
You know, he's going for a look.
I think he's taking that injection.
That's a good question. Like,
They all are. They all
well,
are.
I was going to say, is that in the actor's toolbox now? Because it used to be, you know, Matt Damon dropped 50 pounds for a film. And of course, De Niro dropped 50 pounds for a film. It was that badge of honor, right?
Yeah.
And now they can just talk to Dr. Feelgood and drop 50 pounds without the suffering of the actor, right? Or the best is like De Niro. Oh no, I'm sorry. De Niro gained 50 pounds, and the story was he was working in Italy on 1900, so he just went and ate pasta for a month and gained 50 pounds. So there you have it.
What did you think about his character?
Yeah,
please. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to just mention, just so we don't get it wrong, Aidan Delbus, a young actor on the autism spectrum. So he is a pro. He's has some special needs. He is a working actor. It's not. I didn't mean to say they just found him off the street.
thought he was not a working actor.
But by the way, like that's the joy of it. Is like Jesse Plemons feels like they found him off the street, and that's kind of what you want, right? I mean, I don't know where you're from originally, but I grew up in kind of a small town like this, far outside Chicago. I was born in Chicago. We moved out to the suburbs, and so all my summer jobs were working with people like this, you know, and you saw how the other half lived. And we were on the border of like, you know, you get into rural Illinois and you start to see like some flags that maybe you wouldn't see in downtown Chicago and such.
Instead of 8 Mile, it's like Dixie Mile.
It gets very, yeah. I mean, you don't realize, but Illinois is bordered by Kentucky down south, you know, so like Evansville, Indiana is as southern as Memphis. Okay. Like you get downstate Illinois, it's a different thing. And it's kind of funny how our country is set up like that, because everyone's like, oh, the Californians, they're so liberal. And it's like, really? Go drive into the Central Valley and you'll be hard pressed to find a liberal. You know, it's more like we have these arbitrary lines, but people kind of are people, and they tend to augur certain ways. So, you know, you meet this guy and he's kind of down on his luck. He's not living well. You get the sense that he's living in either a grandparent's or parent's home that was just sort of left to him. And it almost feels like he didn't change a thing. Like they just left one day and he's like a ghost haunting this house of someone else that had lived there, like this little kind of farm that they have out in the suburbs. I believe they shot this in Atlanta. The bees thing is a fun sort of weird hobby to give to the guy. You know, it's also a very solitary, extra, you know, like, what do they call them? Exurbs. You know, there's suburbs and then there's exurbs. And, that's what the life is now, right? It used to be, oh, I run the general store. Oh, I'm a farmer. Oh, do this and that. And now the only jobs for people out there are, oh, I work in the Amazon thing moving boxes around, or I work for the pharmaceutical thing moving boxes around, or I drive a forklift at a, you know, out center for some mega corp. You know, there's no like local businesses left. It's all just, you're out here in DuPage County. Amazon just made a huge deal with the locals that they don't have to pay taxes for the next 7,000 years. So they're going to build a 4 million square foot factory warehouse thing. And there's lots of jobs. And then you show up and the jobs are like, you're going to oil the wheels of the robot that will eventually eat you. So there's not a lot of hope out in these places. And Jesse Plemons, you know, I miss this word. We don't use it a lot. Mug. He's got a great mug.
Love it. Love it.
He's got a mug, that kid. And it's just like, it's the face of the world. And specifically the forlorn American. Like if anybody wants to make a Grapes of Wrath, I got a guy for you. You know, he looks like the forlorn American. He was kind of pudgy when we met him. And now he's that rangy, kind of like coyote looking, scrappy little animal that lives on the fringes, right? And what's great about his character, and because of him. You know, he always plays these sort of dim-balled characters, but then when you look a little deeper, it's like, oh, he's a little smarter than he's letting on, or he's a little more savvy than he's letting on.
The
And his
Power
sort
of the
like,
Dog's a good example of that.
yeah. Even Breaking Bad, like he's just sort of this like, well, yeah, why don't we just kill him? Like he's like a kind of a quiet sociopath, but he's not dumb. You know, he's not a thug per se. He's and that makes it more chilling. Like I'm surprised up to this point we haven't built a great sort of high-end horror movie around that mug. You know, because there's a lot going on there. You know, he's almost like the American blue collar Hannibal Lecter.
They kind of just did, Alex.
I mean, that's the thing.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. I did not expect his character to be as crazy or to be as and so
dark. I mean, they have this reveal.
They trick you. That's the bigger reveal to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So
is how crazy he is. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Is so, and that's what I meant about the slow. It's not the slow build. It's more like the slow unraveling of the onion, right? So, he's set up as a very sad character. His mother. He's lost his mother. We kind of thought she was dead, but it turns out she's in a coma, and it's because she took a drug trial from this drug company, and they gave him a settlement to kind of let her live on life support. He's sort of scraping by in the house that she left him. I believe this fella is his cousin, the Aiden character, and they're just a sad kind of duo. And there's a lot of the manosphere sort of incel stuff put on them, in the sense that he's like, we got to take charge, man. Like he echoes a lot of the language of like the sort of displaced male of modern America, right? So he's like, no more jerking off, no more gaming. We got to get serious. And at one point, he actually chemically castrates both of them, which is pretty freaking troubling when you sort of see that. But look, I like these movies that the author of it, and when I say author, I mean the Yorgos, of the piece, wanted to have a debate.
Okay.
And there's nowhere in our world where you can have a real debate between the CEO of a pharmaceutical company that's responsible for deaths or, sort of hurting people, and one of the victims' families.
That's a great point. Outside of a courtroom.
Outside of a courtroom.
Yeah.
And in a courtroom, there's so many layers of subterfuge. The lawyer, objection. It's like, we don't want objection. We want the father of the daughter that died in the experiment or whatever to choke the guy out. And we always love those videos when they dive over the table and take him down. If I'm one of those bailiffs, I'm going to be like, hey, you cut it out. I'm not going to jump too fast. So like get the guy off him, right? I want to get a few licks. Oh, don't kill him.
Right.
Almost kill him. So like that, what they did here, I almost feel like it was he backtracked from like, as a writer, sometimes you'll just have these stream of consciousness things where you go like person A, person B, and you just kind of, and it's really two sides of your mind. None of us are all one thing or another. So he was kind of like, well, CEO, well, we're trying to save people and we need to do human trials, and something went wrong and we feel terrible. And here's a bunch of money to, to help, but we feel terrible. Person B, like, well, screw you. You killed my mother and she's effectively brain dead, and you sons of bitches, right? So it's like, and back and forth. And you can sit there and be like, yeah, but they're trying to cure cancer. You gotta like spill. It wasn't like, well, that boner pill didn't.
Gotta break a few eggs. Something. So yeah, go ahead.
Do you know what I mean? Though,
yeah.
And he backed out of it and out of it and out of it and out of it, because really, to me, the juice of that movie is they're in a dirty basement on a dirty mattress, and she's chained to the floor, and anything could happen. And we've seen quite a few things happen. We've seen. Girl in the Dragon Tattoos basement. We've seen Hannibal's lair. We've seen, you know what I mean?
I guess we saw Bill. What was his name?
Bill. No, it was. was it Buffalo Bill
Buffalo
because he
Bill.
skinned his humps?
Buffalo Bill. That's
Because
right.
he skinned his
Yeah.
humps.
That wasn't
But,
as much a basement as a pit. It was a pit.
No,
in
no,
his
that was a pit, but no,
Yeah.
but he had the basement,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the basement.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I was trying to say was, remember Hannibal had the storage locker with the
Yeah.
heads in it and stuff,
Yeah.
which was very reminiscent. So again, there's a basement and a basement here because we have the gritty basement that could be anybody's, whatever basement out in the country, but then she's there and we're like, is he gonna rape her? It's a bed. Where is this movie going? I like when movies are like, where the hell is this movie going?
Yeah.
And we didn't know. Apparently you knew. I didn't know.
Well, go
did
ahead.
you ever see Safety Not Guaranteed?
Safety Not Guaranteed. It's so familiar to me.
It's about 15 years ago. It's Aubrey Plaza and Mark Duplass.
Yes, I did see that, and I liked it.
And I don't, again, spoiler people, spoil, and same thing. Okay.
Time machine
In this
movie,
case,
yeah.
it was a time machine.
Mhm.
And apparently it was based on a real ad that the authors saw. And they were like,
Yeah.
safety not guaranteed. Need help building a time machine you may never get back. And so they thought, wow, this is amazing. And same thing.
Yeah.
It's a reporter's like, hey, I want to help. But really they're like under,
Right.
Aubrey is undercover trying to, look at this wacko. He thinks he's got a time machine. And then at the very end, they reveal that it actually was a time machine. Right. So I kind of love those, like, these sad dreamers because there's so many conspiracy. I mean, look, I've been, do you remember the term urban legends?
Oh, of course.
So like I've been obsessed with urban legends forever, since like, grade school, and conspiracy theories and aliens and pyramids and on and on.
Yeah.
If you're a writer or creative of any kind, it is the ultimate source of material.
Yeah.
Because it's the sum total of human intelligence / madness.
The
it's
mystery.
created by it's created by people like this character.
Yeah.
Now we know he's crazy.
Well, can I talk about his character for a second, if you don't mind, if I may go on a little bit of a tangent? The thing I like the most about this movie is you meet this guy, you think he's a conspiracy theorist. The longer you get to know him, the more deranged you find out he is. He has been killed.
Well, wait, and intelligent.
Yes, he's intelligent.
He says something completely freaky,
Yeah.
but then you're like, oh, he's actually really smart. He's like, don't hand me that about your tests. And like he knew the terminology she was throwing around.
Right.
And she was like talking down to him.
Yeah,
and
she
he's
thought
like,
he was stupid.
I know what you're talking about.
But as you go on, so he thinks that she's an alien, part of a vast alien conspiracy. He thinks she's not human,
Andromeda.
right? Andromeda.
Coming for us.
And then basically as you go more, you assume he's wrong in the beginning. And then as you keep going further, you find out he's more deranged than you anticipate because he's basically a serial killer. He's been capturing people.
Well, that's the part they don't show until the very end.
Right. Severing their limbs. Right.
I was led to believe, I think by the filmmaker, this was his like moment. Like, I've had enough. I'm mad as hell.
Right.
I'm not taking it anymore. And I'm going to grab this woman.
Yeah.
But then later in the movie, she's like the 14th one.
Right.
And he's been on a hunt for whatever these things are, the aliens in plain sight or whatever they call
And it's
them.
clever because it makes you think he's really wrong. Like he's clearly wrong because he's been wrong before. But here's the number one thing I wanted to say about this and what I liked about it so much. One of my all-time favorite movies is Take Shelter. And in Take Shelter, Michael Shannon...
Another one of those, oh, he's crazy.
Exactly. Oh, he's crazy. He's
a nutball.
He's schizophrenic because he thinks the world is going to end, but then it turns out the world might be about to end, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not schizophrenic. And what I liked about the Jesse Plemons character is that the theme here is that he is so downtrodden on. He has been so beat down by the powers of society that it has made him crazy, but it hasn't made him wrong. And I thought that was the fascinating thing because he turns out to be right at the end. She is an
right
alien.
about everything.
Right.
Yeah,
but he also
Pops
is
to it.
crazy. He is crazy. And I like that.
Well,
He killed lots of people. I mean,
no, but right. All right. So
yeah.
You know, I was trying to explain to my girlfriend, writers have to be, you know, they always say like there's genius and madness are closely aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to write a good villain, You have to think like a good villain. And worse yet, you have to empathize with their plight. Okay.
Correct.
So he's ostensibly our villain. I might even say by the end, he becomes the hero, albeit like a sort of, shaggy dog one. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what his sociopathy or whatever is. But if I was him and I went down this rabbit hole of why are things so messed up? What is going on? Who's behind this? I want to know, right? I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. The guy from Network, etc. It's our version of that, our moment of that. But then he's right. So it's like, was he so convinced that he was right that he just kept going forward?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
When she finds the kill room, we think we're at the depths of his depravity. He has kidnapped a person and chained them to the floor of his basement. That's pretty dark and the literal depths of depravity. But then there's a sub basement, a la, like we were saying, the Buffalo Bill, even in his basement of making a flesh suit, he has a deeper dungeon just for when, he wants to get even darker. And so Jesse Plemons has this hidden chamber, we're assuming from maybe when the mother was still okay, right? We don't know how long this crusade of his has been going on. Definitely hidden from his very innocent sort of mice and men relationship with his cousin, right? And maybe even hidden from himself. Maybe he's ashamed for what he's had to do to sort of like wage his personal war. But what was fascinating is when she finds it, mm-hmm. I'm screaming at the screen, like, get out of the house, like a horror movie. Mm-hmm. Get out of the house. He's coming, get out of the house. And she's like, oh, look at all this. And there's heads in the jars. There's spaceship models. There's all kinds of, as the shorthand would be, there's red thread with a bunch of pins on the wall, mm-hmm. That thing, that meme. But then she doesn't lose her cool. She's not like, oh my God, I really have to get out of the house. She's almost like fascinated by,
she never loses her cool. Really?
This guy never, right?
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting thing about Emma Stone is she doesn't really, I don't think I've ever seen her play like a damsel in distress. She is always scrappy as hell.
Yeah.
From the musical with Ryan Gosling to The Favorite to, mm-hmm. Poor Thing, certainly, she does not suffer fools well,
She made her career on that with Easy A. If anything, Easy A made her career, and it's the same deal.
Yeah. That was the beginning of the Emma screen persona. I think you're right. Fun and approachable, but kind of like with a spine of steel, but beneath. So she, when he comes back, she goes, well, how many did you find? And he goes, 2. So that's the chilling conversation of the whole thing, which means,
and he might've been right.
Well, no, it's like, remember he electrocutes her. And then he's like, oh, she took 100, amps, like she's a royal whatever. And it was like, oh man, this guy's lost it. But like all these things end up making sense. But yeah, when she finds that weird room, you realize there's like a dozen killings on his roster. I mean, he is legitimately a serial killer. Now, he's looking for these aliens. So let's say he killed 12 people. He murdered 10 humans accidentally. Mm-hmm. on his quest to get the 2 other Andromedans. Mm-hmm. So that's the great thing is you're still trying to figure out, is he a hero? Is he a villain? Is he mad or is he the only sane person?
He's traumatized, in my opinion. He's traumatized. It's funny. I don't want to call casting a neurodivergent actor a stunt casting. It's not stunt casting. It's real casting. The actual stunt casting here is Alicia Silverstone playing Jesse Plemons' mother. I don't know why I consider that stunt casting. It just felt like stunt casting. I got no issues with it, but I was not expecting to see her in this movie.
Yeah, and kind of good.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I liked her. Uh-huh. I mean, they didn't give her much to work with. Unfortunately, she was comatose for at least 50% of her time. But it was nice to see her.
I'm sure she was happy for it.
It's always funny when those kind of folks like end up turning up. I mean, we said that a lot with Marty Supreme. There was a ton of those. In fact, I remembered another one. David Mamet was playing the playwright. When he's like, yeah, can you get off my stage, please?
In Marty Supreme?
Yeah. Do you remember they were playing with the knife?
That was Mamet?
Yeah. He's like, hey, I don't need any of your notes. Will you please exit stage left?
Wow.
Like that's Mamet. So anyway, and again, another polemic figure that some people love and some people hate.
He's gone so right wing that
I mean, there's a good example of that,
Yeah.
right? So, look, this movie was small, but big ideas.
This,
And
you know
that's
what's
it becomes
hilarious?
true.
This was his most expensive movie, and it's the only time I've ever seen a movie where I saw where 90% of the budget went into one shot.
The last 10 minutes, yeah.
Literally, I think it's actually just the spaceship, because something I loved about the interior of the spaceship is that it looks like it's out of the 80s. Like they're wearing ridiculous costumes. I was
going to ask you, like, I understand he wanted to go for his own thing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I was just watching Galaxy Quest, and they do a similar teleportation thing where it's sort of like a liquid-based or gel-based sort of
Matrix
weird thing.
did it too.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see like where his head goes in terms of like it's not just a bright light or something. Like there's actually like a physicality to it and a tactile quality. I mean, I kind of like the ship. It looked very interesting.
And that's the budget. You mean the exterior shot?
I meant so there's a fun shot where he has this vision of what he thinks the ship looks like, and he builds a model, and he actually like does a little 3D animation. So we're like, wow, this guy really has depths to his madness. Like there's a whole theory to it. I used to work on a show way back when it was like a talk show. So we would get viewer mail, and it was a daytime talk show. So a lot of the mail was from prisoners in the joint, and I would have to read the mail. And just some of the penmanship would be chilling. And it'd be the usual, like, you're very pretty and I want to marry you, to like the female host. But this one guy sent us this very long and very thought out thing about why we were caught in a larger conspiracy. And it was I think I saved it because I'm like, oh, this is going to be a script one day. Like this guy has thought out the whole rules of the universe, and you realize like, yeah, what's the difference between him and J.R.R. Tolkien? Just that the guy sat his ass down and started typing, the imagination level is incredible. And that's what's fun is you kind of see, in a way, the artist is making fun of the Jesse Plemons character, because you do feel like that. You do feel alone. You feel like the only sane person in the world that's seeing what the travesty of our modern world and the unfairness, and the bad guys are winning. And there's a lot to empathize with in this character, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the incel thing is a hot topic, and the two sides both have great points. The one side is,
oh God,
hey, yeah, no, they do.
That's the end of this show.
Absolutely do. No, fuck no way. Both sides have points, which is, hey, get off your couch, stop jerking off, stop playing violent video games, stop going onto 4chan and the new equivalents, and go into the world, socialize, get some sun, touch grass, as they say, and try to meet a gal. And that requires that you, like, for example, there's signs up at every Comic-Con and every like Dragon Ball Con, which say in large block letters, please use deodorant. Okay, these people are...
Oh, I get that, yeah.
These people are misfits. They're misfits.
Yeah.
And I get that. And there's a reason that they correlate. It's because we need community.
Yeah.
We all need community. So as lonely as Jesse Plemons was, his community was, the Andromedans are getting us. So he felt connected. He felt part of something that he could not only learn the catechisms of online, but contribute to them. Hey, I made a 3D animation of their mothership. Hey, I have a theory about they can take 100 amps of electrocution to them or whatever. We all want to belong. And that's, by the way, what certain, let's say, nefarious actors are benefiting from.
Mm-hmm.
When you have disaffected young men, that's kindling for a civilization. Okay?
Was it necessary for him to be molested by a slightly older police officer who used to be his babysitter? Like, really,
I like
was
that.
it?
By the way,
Yeah.
I like that guy. So he's a comedian.
Stavros
Stavros,
and he's
is
not
funny.
a funny character in the movie. He's not really
No,
funny.
well, he looks funny.
He looks like a fat cop.
And his affect is kind of funny. Like, hey man, how you doing? And meanwhile, Jesse's like, I got to go get back and torture the alien, and no, man, really, how you been? And he's like, okay, I guess. And we slowly put together that this was the bad touching babysitter from 10 years ago, which, by the way, almost certainly contributed to some level of this poor guy's trauma.
Oh yeah.
And now he's like, I don't know, just get out of my house. So, and also it was interesting that they killed him, or he killed him at that certain point because he was a cop and because he was close to finding out that they had, the kidnapping was, because he was like, hey, have you seen anybody around? Like, he wasn't even suspecting him. But
what's funny is he only used the investigation into this woman's disappearance as an opportunity to apologize. It was really interesting to see a molester. He clearly feels guilt over molesting Jemmy. He used to babysit.
I didn't do that to anybody else.
And he said, and you know what's funny, Alex? I might believe him because he feels remorse.
Well, and so the guy's a stand-up. He has done a few acting roles. Stavros Halkias. He's also an interesting character on sort of the incel sphere because he is one of the few that like kind of calls them out and he sort of heckles and he's not overtly woke, quote unquote. He's just kind of like, yeah, they're dumb. He says some interesting things, kind of like he doesn't like Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? He's sort of like, guys, like, this is dumb. What
he looks like he should be right wing and he's not.
That's what he plays on. Yeah. He's like, look at me, almost like Shane Gillis, right? He's sort of like
he's a Baltimore sleazebag, but he's not.
Yes, and exactly. Yeah. So look, I think he's great. He kind of doesn't fit into the small town vibe a little bit. I mean, he's
too
cop.
city.
I felt like he was too city for this film, but I liked.
He does a good job. He's good.
I mean, I like what he did. He's holding his own against these hitters. I'll give him that. But like, your question was, is it necessary?
Was the molestation necessary to build the trauma of the Plemons character?
Let's ask the deeper question. I think they needed tension. Okay. I think they needed a cop to be sniffing around.
Okay.
Right. Because who else is knocking on the door like, hey, you seen any weird things happen? Right. Because there's a big manhunt.
So I guess it's more clever. I think
they started with, we need a country cop to be sniffing around.
Mm-hmm.
Then they asked like, well, does he know, since country cop, he probably knows the guy. It's a small town. Okay. Well, does he like him or does he suspect him to be kind of a weirdo or is he harmless or what? And it goes on and on and on. So then you get into this like, well, what if they had a prior relationship? Well, what if the prior relationship was traumatizing? Well, what if, and then you almost get the cop has an agenda that is not about the manhunt to find,
which he does, which is
entirely why he's there.
Yeah. He
doesn't suspect this guy at all.
None.
It gets him in his neighborhood, but it's really just to be like, look, I've done a lot of thinking and do you mind if I like unpack this on you? And the guy's like, just leave me alone, But I'll tell you this, by doing that, it's almost inevitability that there's going to be a cop knocking on the door. And there's an equal inevitability in this sort of genre that the killer in the house is going to whack out that cop to keep the secret.
Yeah.
Right. Or
always happens.
Either kidnap him and bring him into the thing or whack him with a shovel.
It's one of the great cliches. It really is.
Right. It's in there. It's in there. Yeah. And so he whacks him with the shovel to keep the quiet of the secret. And so I think I'm going with, I like that they did the trauma because it gives it a layer.
You changed my mind. I think you're absolutely right, and you brought a writer's perspective to it, which is there must be a cop, and instead of a cop being like
an external tension, anything. It could be an IRS agent,
and
but
instead
it's
of this
something
cop being
knocking
like,
on the door.
and instead of him being like, I know this weird guy in town, and I bet he's got her. It's so much more clever to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to use this investigation as an opportunity to apologize for molesting him 15 years ago. I think that's way more clever. You convinced me. I recant my question.
So I'm okay with it. And also they tiptoed around it. It wasn't gross.
No.
But it was like, oh, this guy, when he killed the cop in a normal movie, if it was just spunky cop trying to do his job, we would hate Jesse a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he killed the cop, and I had to like examine myself, and I'm like, oh, he killed the cop. And by the way, the cop that we see, he's kind of amiable. Hey, man.
Yeah.
How you doing?
He's a molester that shows remorse. When do we see
slowly,
that?
Yeah, so slowly you see what he is and what he was, and then he gets killed, and you're like, yeah, fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a lot of sympathy left for child molesters in this community,
No, but it is interesting.
Unless they win office. Then
we
revere them. But until then, you're the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
And so killing a cop who was going to save our victim, he keeps playing with sort of our loyalties. And so he killed the cop who was kind of nice, and he just liked fudge and whatever. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. This movie could just be about that moment. Like the poor guy got molested as a child, and now the guy shows up at his home. Yeah, let's sting him with 1,000 bees, that son of a bitch.
There's a whole other movie in which you just make a movie about a guy who lives in a small town with his autistic cousin, and there's a cop who molested him in town. Yeah.
No, and the cop comes around and he goes, you know what? My plan is I'm going to get this guy good. Yeah. And I'd be like, okay, I'll watch that. Yeah, and meanwhile, there's a pharmaceutical company in the background. Like, that's what's fun about these characters, is there's a lot going on, and I'm not overburdened by it. There's really 4 characters. I mean, name anybody else. There was like some, a few like henchmen in the Andromeda ship, a few henchmen at the, company, but it's really a 4-hander is it.
Well, I have a question. Did the aliens, spoiler alert, did the aliens blow up Jesse Plemons in the closet?
No, he up.
You think he?
Yeah. So they even said it in the movie. They said, yeah, sometimes with these home baked explosives, he's like, was the guy like sweaty and sort of like nervous? And she's like, yeah, the body heat will set off the charge.
So she really was going to put him on the ship.
Yeah, it really was as sad as. He really thought through everything. Yeah. Because you're like, oh my God, now he's got a bomb strapped to him. Jesus Christ. It was almost every definition we've had of a modern madman. Right? Suicide bomber, basement serial killer, conspiracy theorist weirdo, kidnapper, gone mad, celibate incel, chemical castrator. Yeah. I mean, he's exhibiting everything that we have decided, whoa, buddy, you are off in a corner and you are not one of us and you have lost the thread. And then you realize, well, wait a second. He has a point. She's going to teleport him. And what if they show up and they've got, space lasers?
And that's all he needed in his life was to see that he was right. And that's the one thing he doesn't get. And the reason I like the movie is...
Well, I was like, oh, she's playing along. Like for most of the turn, I was like, oh, she's smart enough. She's just going to be like, there's no talking to this guy. I need to fuel his conspiracy, trick him into going to the quote mothership, and then I'll have security shoot him in the face or whatever. Right. So it brings him to the office. So there was that guessing game. I did kind of think like, oh, now she's like flipping the script on him. Like, yeah, oh, you got it. I'm the queen bee of the hive and da. And so, I just think there's a lot of meat on the bone here for something that is fairly pedestrian. Yeah. I mean, it's a house, it's a basement, it's a guy on a bike. You know, like it's very low tech on,
Yeah.
on a certain level.
And by the way, the interior, I wanted to get back to this. The interior of the spaceship is low tech, which I love. One of my favorite sci-fi movies ever is Enemy Mine with with Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. And
I like that movie.
It reminded me of how Enemy Mine looked, which is just this very physical, tactile interior.
Yeah,
like
handmade rocks and weird stuff. Yeah. No, you know, I couldn't quite. I kept going back and forth. Like, is he trying to be like, what was the company that he was? Do you remember Snuffle? What was it called?
Snuffleupagus?
No. Puffin Stuff. Do you remember HR Puffin Stuff?
I know what it is, but I don't know what it is.
So that company did like puppet shows and like weird trippy stuff that had this sort of like, is this for kids or is this for stoners? And it kind of looked like that aesthetic. Like I liked that it was tactile and weird, but I think they could have, for the same amount of money, made it look more real, quote unquote. Like I thought that the wardrobes were kind of too far out.
Yeah.
And I thought it would have been funnier to make them all look like Emma Stone, who kind of looks like an alien to begin with.
This was my problem. I actually did not like the diversity racially of the aliens. I know that sounds crazy, but I was like, why are we all of a sudden going woke in the last moment of this film when especially
we haven't seen any.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she had like a couple of.
Well, it opens up with
they
diversity.
made a commentary about that.
Yeah.
She was doing a corporate video about diversity, and the diversity officer was black, and another diversity person was, I believe, Latina, and they were like, well, okay, read the script. And she's like, if I say diversity one more time, like she kind of was showing like,
I guess maybe
casual, like anti-woke.
Maybe all the aliens were undercover all over the earth, and that's why the diversity is there.
I guess,
that could be it.
I guess. At some point, I thought it would have been funnier to cast a lot of people that look like Emma Stone, and if you couldn't, then do something to make their eyes all look huge. So they are kind of, because she kind of looks alien. Like, no offense to anybody, but that would have been more fun for me. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not heckling diverse, not diverse, whatever. They were trying to say, and by the way, all this stuff that they threw in there, that is all, it's kind of a chock-a-block, but they have taken stuff from, like, do you know the Secret Doctrines? You ever read those?
No.
All right. So like around the turn of the late 1800s, there was all these secret societies that wrote all these books about, you know, the Nephilim and the giants that came before, you know, that the fallen angel. There's all this like proto-biblical stuff. The angels fell from heaven. They desired man. They lay with the human women and begat the Nephilim, which are these like 10-foot giants, of which Goliath was supposed to be one of the last ones, and that they were sort of the people that worked at building up the kingdoms of Atlantis and this and that. Like, they were kind of throwing in a bunch of the greatest hits of conspiracies to kind of say, like, you're all kind of right, but just this little piece, right? So they had Atlantis, they had sort of angelic stuff. There was the battle of the sort of gods and man, and then Atlantis fell because they created what is now modern man, which is too violent, and now it's an experiment that maybe should fail. I loved how easy it was to shut off Earth. It was just like popping like a soap bubble. And just the extended sort of like bodies everywhere, including like, you know, elementary school kids. And
I was wondering how long that was going to go on.
It was pretty long.
Yeah. But I was glad that it went more international. I needed that to go international to get a sense of the scope of it all.
Yeah. But the birds were chirping was the point.
Yeah, and the bees survive. I mean, to be fair, Jesse Plemons actually achieves his goal in some ways, which is the preservation of the bee colonies. You know, to be the risk of being reductive, because the Jesse Plemons character being right at the end of the day is so fascinating to me. To me, I could, like, if I had to like be really like lame, I could say that this movie says crazy times make crazy people. Because there's a bit, yeah.
Yeah. It's as easy as that.
Yeah.
But what I like is this movie sort of continually asks you, and that's what I mean about the layers of the onion, like, what comes first? You know, was he chemically, schizophrenic? There's some of the terms I don't know what.
I had an
But-
uncle who was schizophrenic, so I know.
Well, was he born?
Yeah.
What I mean was he born with it, or is it environmental?
I
right?
felt like
And
it was always societal. I always felt like everything about him was the result of
they
society.
got him.
Yeah.
The molestation,
Mhm.
mom being. By the way, the part they kind of talk about is that mom was a heroin addict.
Mhm.
Okay, this was a drug to help kick opioid addiction.
Mhm.
So mom was not doing great from the beginning.
Mhm.
One might argue mom was on the smack when he was born.
Right.
And he might have been sort of, ready for the bleep from the inception.
Mhm.
But we don't know. We
Yeah.
just know that this guy, everything in his life, possibly from before his life, was geared against him.
Yeah.
But he was smart enough to do something about it, intelligent enough to teach himself how to do 3D animation, how to learn about drugs, how to learn about firearms, how to learn about, being a clandestine little weirdo that like disappears a dozen people,
And also discovering an alien conspiracy.
Well, serial killers are not dumb. That's more than anything. I think that's why there's so many movies
They
about them.
usually turn themselves in. They're usually not caught. Most serial killers eventually turn themselves in.
And that's it just goes on and on because it's us, right? So we talk about the uncanny valley. Like the uncanny valley is the 1 degree that it takes to make a good person into a serial killer.
Yeah.
Everybody says it. What is that saying? We're all one bad day away from madness.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stories about that. This guy was pushed too far. And I mentioned falling down as like one of those examples. There's a ton of them. But I think that's why we watch is we're like, well, what would I do? Or how much could I take? Or what's the point that I would finally get fed up? Or would I personify all my unfocused rage onto this one person? I mean, there is even shades of sort of Luigi in this movie. And the problem is that Luigi is a good-looking, smiling guy, and he continues to be like, "Hi, Mom," and I think that is just bizarre to the extreme. But he did the same thing.
Yeah,
he found a CEO, someone who had crossed him and his family, and he perceived had a personal gripe against, and he picked him out and shot him down.
Yeah.
So it's not dissimilar to what this character does, and that's the manipulation.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she's kind of a dick. Yeah, maybe she does deserve a dressing down. And then you're like, well, wait, we don't want her to get killed and, like raped and chopped up. But yeah, maybe a lockdown and like a scare, that'd be good, right? Maybe she'd change her ways. Maybe she'd become a force for good. And, all these like sort of negotiations she tries. What I love is just that she corporate speaks him and he's like, he finally just like starts slapping her around or whatever because she's like, maybe we should ideate for like where the pain points are in this relationship, or I forget dumb corporate speak, and he's just like, and he's like, I know what those words mean, shut up. And it's like, yeah, man, so look, it keeps you engaged, it keeps you switching your alliances almost like minute by minute. And then the cousin character is sort of the babe in the woods who's just the manipulation of.
He's the real victim. He is like the most victimized person in the movie.
Yeah. And he just wants love, and he's like, okay, well, love is you're going to be my co-conspirator. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the tragic character.
Before we go, I just want to say, overall, I'm happy to see that Yorgos has made a movie that I like again. I would like to see him make something next that is totally not consistent with what he's made. That's all. This movie does feel predictable in his filmography.
Has he made a sci-fi though? I mean, Poor Things, is that kind of a
This
sci-fi?
only becomes a sci-fi in the last 5 minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
fine, but
Yeah.
now we can't help but categorize it as a sci-fi though. Yeah.
I'd like to
mean,
see like
I
him.
could give you 1,000 Stephen King short stories that are very similar to this, like
Yeah.
sort of lower tier blue collar,
Mhm.
squalidness that ends with some weird alien demon cha-cha-cha.
I'd like to see him make Ordinary People. By the way, my favorite movie of his is actually not the favorite. It's Killing of a Sacred Deer. I quite like that movie. I think it's very creative, but that's just me.
I didn't like it. I didn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he discovered that Irish weirdo that is
Barry
still.
Coffin or whatever. Keoghan.
I think what I would love to see is Barry Keoghan and Jesse Plemons out weird each other, like they're detectives.
Yeah.
They're like mentally challenged detectives.
Well, obviously Barry is the corrupt cop, and the other one's not.
Well, you do like the nice guys,
Yeah.
except it's those two, and
Yeah.
it's like the not so nice guys, and they're just like, what do they do next?
Yeah.
But look, I agree with you. I think the best thing for Yorgos would be a Doctor Strange movie, or like a literary adaptation, like the way that like Lynch did like Straight Story or
Yeah.
Elephant
No,
Man.
exactly right. That's what I want. I want to see something
You know what I mean?
earnest.
You take it like
Yeah.
just like kind of
Yeah.
have someone above him or that he respects that's just like less is more.
I
Less
couldn't
is
agree more. I think that something earnest and sincere
We'll get
would
an
be,
Oscar. Like I think he'll get whatever he wants. It's just he has to let go of the idiosyncrasies. a little
totally
bit.
agree. Anyways, I'm glad we both agree about this movie.
Yeah, thank you for watching it. It was not high on my list at all. I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, just to whoever's listening, like the poster maybe not want to see it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going for there. Like I'm like, what is this? A Bukkake movie? What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's certainly strange. And does it like up some the sort of like tone of the movie? Like, I don't know, guys. Like don't make it a chore. Like they kind of made it a chore.
Yeah.
So,
But the movie's not really a chore.
no, it's a good movie.
Anyways, everybody, this is the How I Got Greenlit podcast and YouTube show. As always, thank you for joining us. I don't have a teaser into next week. I don't know what we're doing next week. I am very interested in, I think it's called The Secret Agent, for which Maura Wagner just won a Golden Globe. Wagner Moore, excuse me. So I might try.
We've been hinting about that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is Oscar season. It is sort of obligated to at least consider some of those movies.
Yeah.
Secret Agent seems like the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we did One Battle. We've done some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I have 0.0 interest in.
Totally.
No offense to anybody.
Yeah.
But this is something that we can debate. I would say, hey, anybody who's still here in the last seconds of this, email or comment on what you want us to see.
Please.
I would see
Absolutely.
Hamnet, but I'm not running.
I won't do it because I have an 8-year-old son. It's not. Maybe Hamnet is the best movie of the year. I just can't handle it.
What? Why is there an 8-year-old son in it?
It's about the death of William Shakespeare's son and how it led to the writing of Hamlet.
Oh,
The
I see.
whole movie's about the grief over the death of like an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah, no. Then I'm out.
If I didn't have a son, I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, even Weapons, I was like mad. Like, what are you doing with kids? And I ended up liking that movie, but I always feel like the threat or actual harm of children is the lazy writer's crutch.
I want to give this movie more credit
You know what I mean?
because
It's the ultimate stakes.
Hamnet was William Shakespeare's son. That was his name, and that's why he wrote Hamlet, to deal with his grief. And I believe his son just died of some sort of Elizabethan disease. And I think the movie's about grief. To be fair, like I don't think they're using the son as a crutch. I think they're trying to explore grief. I just can't handle it emotionally.
Well, then we should watch a movie about adopted dogs. Cujo?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, cool. Alex, until next week.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.